Somebody has to ask Maurice a question.
Maurice.
Yes.
Do your students giggle in your MFA classes when you use profanity or like the sex images? I'm just wondering, like, does that happen too in MFA classes, or is that unique to mixed audiences?
Do they giggle when you use profanity or sexual images?
When I use profanities?
In your
class.
In my classes. You know, I don't gratuitously use profanity when I teach. If I teach and I use profanity, there's a good fucking reason. I'm not teaching. I don't do, really, unless there's some kind of important reason to swear in class. I don't. My students cover that. Oh, by the way, I want to take this opportunity to thank Estrella for that beautiful introduction.
All right, yeah! Any other questions?
I have a question. And I don't know if it's a question for me or if it's a question for somebody else. In terms of poetry, what would you advise a young person as being most important in fostering that ability or that kind of feeling? What advice would you give to a young person?
Like a kid? Or, well, I teach kids, so I don't not in school, but I teach poetry to kids a lot, and to not be afraid. I have a lot of kids that are afraid of poetry because they think that it's something they're not connected to it at all. And I think that connecting poetry with different art forms is something that really gives them different avenues into it. Writing in any way and reading. To find a book of poetry, there's books of poetry for teenagers, for young kids, like really good ones too. And they don't even, sometimes just a book of contemporary poetry. Kids can understand that like so easily. They get it because they're sort of still in a spot with language where they don't have all these set rules in their head, and they understand the experiments. And reading, I would say, would be and even going to a poetry reading. For a kid, I mean, I think that that's amazing for them to see that it lives outside of a book.
That's all good stuff. Just to encourage playfulness with language all day long. Silly rhymes, puns, I know for people who live with punsters it can be difficult, but again to language in playful ways. Oh, hand way up.
Budding poet back there.
Maybe there wasn't a hand.
Last call for questions? Oh.
Just thinking about, what binds the three of you together, and thinking about rhythm and cadence, especially when you talk about outside of the paper. Don't catch rhythm as much reading a poem as much as when I hear it. How much, any or all of you, how much does rhythm play a part in how you put together creative piece? That's pretty wide.
I know for me, I pretty much anything I've ever written grows out of something I figured out how to do rhythmically on guitar. I mean, it's, I get, as the echo points out, I kind of like repetitive rhythms. But I would say pretty much every song is inspired at some point by this ability to get a certain rhythm out of the guitar that I want to hear, and then the harmony comes next, and then probably the melody is last, or it's probably the thing I think about least. But
for me, rhythm or meters is a big deal because I write, I think sometimes of the way I hear something, how words work together, whether it be similar sounds or whether it be the rhythm that they make together. I think it's really important. I'm sort of I'm an edit. I edit all the time, so that's one of the things. I'm always editing poems for today.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I like to do, and it's not normal, but it's probably more difficult, is when Julie was talking just now, it comes to me naturally. At one point it probably didn't, to just drop her lines every time she paused significantly, to bring it down and to see what that shape would make as it's going down her body as she's talking to us. And that's that attention to rhythm, to the beginnings and the ends of units of time. I'm like some young person with a hand.
Yeah, that's why you can't see it.
What was the question?
Your favorite song you wrote?
Boy, it's really tricky. You'll hear other songwriters say they're all like your kids. And I generally like both my real kids. And so one of them is a punster. You go through phases, like you get to a point where you feel like that song really does something that I couldn't do before. Like the Kissing the Fishy, when I was able to play that, I couldn't play anything like that before I figured that song out. And that felt like some kind of accomplishment. So I don't know, it comes and goes. I wrote a song for my wife once, my assistant. I don't know. I mean, they're all kind of different, but it's surprising to go back and play some of these things that I wrote when I was 18 years old, and I'm kind of surprised they came to me. I don't know. They're all happy accidents.
I've got one. I play the piano, so when you learn a piece, you read the music?
No.
Okay, because I was going to say that would be extremely difficult. You would need like 2 or 3 staff for it.
Well, right. I mean, I could show you what some of it looks like, and the master of that again lives in town here. But no, I can read music very slowly, and I took some music theory once upon a time, and it only frustrated me. So, if you play, I don't know if any guitar players in here, but a lot of us play by this system called tablature, where they basically put numbers on the page to tell you where to put your hands. But as it turns out, that's not new. I thought that was a cheap thing for little suburban kids trying to play Rush and YouTube. But in fact, there's a long history of tablature, so it's actually somewhat dignified. But again, it's just all in my head, so I'm trying to record it so I can forget it. So.
One more.
I just have a quick question. The Male Poet, I think it was your second poem. The line that said about chocolate, afterwards all we talked about was chocolate. Was there any significance to it?
No blood sugar. No, I think what I had in mind there is maybe that's when they really make a love, after making love, when you just talk about whatever's on your mind. Maybe just have you're jonesing for a piece of chocolate, just some pillow talk, just some kind of sweet things that you say before you fall asleep.
I was going to say, you sure it wasn't the speed you were talking about.
Too much record references. I realize it happened.
Well, buy some books, buy some CDs. Thanks to our performers.
You guys.